Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another and of, I guess, a new episode of the Father's Guild podcast. I am here, I am Pat Barber, and we are here with Rory Toland, not Toland. We already talked about not putting a U in there. And this is episode 2. We are going to talk through, last episode, we talked through a bit of who Rory was, a little bit about the Father's Guild. I think this episode, we're going to dig into a little bit of the backstory of who I am, and then some other things we got coming up. And then hopefully in episode 3, we'll have a guest, likely a father, if not someone who we consider as just like, fatherly, if nothing else.
Yeah. No, I think the last episode was really fun. It was the first proper podcast episode I had done, and I was just saying before we hopped on here, I feel like Pat is a seasoned veteran at this, a wordsmith, if you will. Just things roll off the tongue. So I'm looking forward to continuing to learn to get to that level as we do more and more of these.
I don't know if I said it on the last podcast, but the only reason, the only way to get good at anything is by doing it. And there's this weird thing that happens if you've ever filmed yourself, and you fathers out there, if you've ever made content, if you've ever done stuff like that. Like, you have this vision for what you want to do, and then you like rehearse it even, and it sounds good, and then you put up the camera and you go to film, and it just goes like right out your head, and you're like, whoa, what just happened? I look like an idiot. But podcasts are one of those interesting things where you get it's so responsive, where like you're just responding to what's going on, but you can find yourself the first few podcasts you do saying stuff that you don't necessarily have a full thought on. Like, you haven't wrapped your head around exactly what you think, but because someone asked you, you're like presenting that side, and you're like, oh no, words are coming out. And it's so live and it's so happening that you're like, I don't know what to do here. And I got confronted with that very early on in my podcasting career. I was on a podcast, and the host asked me a question that was, I had the answer to, but then they pushed further, and they were like, okay, so how do you do that? And like just froze and was like, oh no,
Did you actually say, like, I actually don't know, or did you just bullshit your way through it?
fully bullshitted it, but like fully bullshitted it. And like, I stumbled over the words. I like BS'd my way through it, and I like kind of made something up on the spot. But like, I sat down after that podcast and I was like, never again will I be faced with that scenario. So that was a big learning experience. So I'm glad to hear that I'm not the only one, Rory.
Yeah. I think there's two things in there. There's the piece of, I think recently with having made more content, both for my business outside of the Father's Guild, and then for the Father's Guild, and then also for my family content, because I just like making videos. That has been like a really tangible thing to see of, the more every video I get better, or every video I understand how to use this tool better, so it happens quicker, and now I can color grade, and now I can add this effect. And it's such like a real time learning experience that like keeps you going almost, because you're like, you see the content that you admire, or the art, or the whatever it is that you're consuming, and it feels so unattainable. You're like, I'm never going to be as good as that. But then you just do. Consistency, like we talked about last time, you just consistently do, and you can look back and be like, oh, I got better.
Yeah. I think the interesting part for content creation is like, there's such a big why behind it. I think there's a social pressure to like put stuff out for some people, but the vast majority, it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, in all honesty, like I probably wouldn't post on social if I didn't have things to say to a larger audience. Like, if I was just posting on social for my family to see or my friends to see, I'd be like, just come and see me, like, I get the value of it, but I think the social side of social has long since been abandoned. I actually saw something recently on that where it was, Jack, what's his name? He's the guy who owned Jack Dorsey. Yeah. He's the guy who owns,
Pretty sure.
He what?
I think did he not found Twitter? I might be wrong in that, Jack.
No. Sorry. Jack Dorsey did, but it's not Jack Dorsey. It's the guy who founded Patreon.
Yes, and he did it with.
Yes, yeah. So he essentially was talking about how the innovations in like media. The first one was centered around an innovation of being able to produce content. So it's like the internet went from like it's just pages to and that you couldn't really add to where you could like start creating pages. So blogs existed. And then it was to where you could then share video and photos. So like all of a sudden there was no filter between sharing something to the world and you. Like you could just do whatever you wanted. And the real innovation there was the follow. So you could actually say, I want to see more of this and hit this button and follow someone. And that really changed the game for social media because you could say, I want to see more of this from this specific person. And individuals could just create a platform. And that has kind of died as a result of essentially how they've modulated algorithms. So like that's what TikTok kind of killed and everybody else followed because TikTok was centered around they were just going to feed you what they thought you would like based off of where your eye lingers. So in an effort to harvest your attention, it's not who you follow. It's just, and that exists, but it's just what they think you'll like. So the better they know you, the more they're just feeding you stuff. So that coupled with endless scroll gets you in today's state. Which is why I say social media is not social anymore. Yeah, so we yeah.
Yeah. No, I would completely agree with that. I mean, I would agree with it because I also watched that video. It was like, again, I think you put me onto his content. And I watched that, and then all of a sudden in my algorithm was more of those videos, and that one popped up. But yeah, I think there is an interesting shift, and more people are realizing that it isn't any longer about your friends and family. Group chats are for that, like I have group chats with the people that mean the most to me, and I will individually send them updates or just have a call with them. Like we live over the other side of the world from all of our family and friends back in Scotland, so that's kind of a necessity. But when I think about the landscape of content and how it has shifted to where you are just fed what it thinks you'll like, that is kind of, I don't want it to, but it can really easily influence how you create, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this when we're talking about Father's Guild content is like the thing that is circulating Instagram right now is like you need a good hook because people are so used to just scrolling through that you need to capture their attention. And I think the key balance, if we were to relate it to like our messaging around fatherhood, is we don't just want it to be the clickbaity, what's going to grab your attention, and then really that just be it and have no actual food for thought. Like the really good, impactful content that I consume anywhere that I enjoy is stuff that grabs me and then makes me stop and think and reflect, right? Like, oh, well, how, like, whether it's about fatherhood or health or balance or whatever it is, relationships. Oh, they've said this. You don't always have to necessarily agree with them, but just let it even allow you to question the way you do things and why, right? I think that's the key.
Yeah. Yeah, but it plays with like the idea of like right now, even good content you won't see if we don't package it in a way that's viewable. But that's a conversation outside fatherhood. I don't know how we got here.
But we can bring it around because we'll go full circle and we'll say anybody that's listening to this has probably seen your content, whether that was through they followed you on your Coach Pat Barber page, or maybe they've been part of Coach's development and they found their way onto Father's Guild. So more than likely, they have seen your content. So we can pull it back around to there to talk about you and the man who started the whole Father's Guild and has been putting the message out there for a few years now. I think it's really easy to feel like you know someone through social media now because of everything we just talked about, putting out messaging, putting out thoughts. And I feel like you do a really good job of doing that quite honestly and raw and authentically. I know that that's something that you really hold high in your values. So people will have a pretty good idea of your views, opinions, whether that's on fatherhood, coaching, or any of the kind of niche areas that you get involved in. But I think getting to know a little bit more about the man that puts out the content would be good. So we did my fatherhood credentials, and with each of these, we almost got a tangent on each of them. So let's do a quick fire of our fatherhood credentials. Let's go. How long have you been a father? Your current number of kids, total number of pregnancies. Those are the first three we're going to start with. Go, go, go.
Bang, bang, bang. I've been a father for 12 years, coming up on 13. My boy's about to turn 13. We have 4 boys, and we've had, I want to say 8 pregnancies, 7 or 8. I think it's 7. We had 3 miscarriages. So 7, yeah.
Who is your wife and how long have you been married?
My current wife, no, my, sorry, that was, sorry, I thought that was funny. My little brother used to tell a joke like that. He would go like someone would be like, "Oh, how's your girlfriend?" He'd be like, "Oh, we're not dating anymore." And they would, yeah, we got married, and so like it would run it like that. But anyway, my wife is named Tamarin Fenter is her real name, but she is now Tamarin Barber, and she is born in South Africa, raised in New Zealand, Zafa Kiwi American. So she's got this weird affected accent similar to you, but she is a hard and amazing woman. Hard meaning like tough, not hard. I mean, she's physically hard too, I guess, but like that's not what I'm referencing.
Yeah, she's not challenged. I mean, challenging in a good way. She's hard in the good ways. Yeah, I get what you
exactly. Yeah.
And you guys met through CrossFit?
Yes, so we met in 2009. Our actual dating anniversary is coming up, I think tomorrow, I want to say it is. We started dating September 4th was our dating anniversary in 2009. And so we've been together ever since. We met in the cross. She won a CrossFit regional and then competed in the games, and we trained together beforehand and kind of fell in love. She is an amazing woman. And I think the thing that really separated out her and other people I had been with is, I think I've told this before, but most of my relationships in my life, I was pretty easygoing, and I would be in for a very long time, 3 years at a time, 2, 3, 4 years, depending on one factor was good, and that one factor was sex. So if I was getting good sex, then I would be in a relationship for a very long period of time because I'm pretty mellow. I like challenge, I like these other things. It was nothing about those relationships ever was like bad enough to end on either side. And when I met my wife, I was in a relationship, so that medium of connection was off the table because I am a faithful individual, and so we hung out. Faithful in the sense that I don't cheat on my spouses, and I hung out with Taz for a good couple weeks, and we didn't have any intimacy, but like in terms of like physical connection or anything like that. But in terms of how we connected outside that, it was quite profound. And I was blown away that a relationship with a woman could be like this, could be this fun, could be this engaging, could be this stimulating intellectually and also play wise and, competition wise, and just our value structures aligned in a way that was just profound. Like we are very similar in some really core pieces, but completely different in like almost everything superficial. Like we are like everything superficial. It's like if literally when I pick gifts for her, I go in and go, which of these looks like the worst to me? That one looks the worst, and I'll pick it, and she'll be like, I love it. If I go to pick anything that I'm like, this is good, she's never going to like it. That goes with food, that goes with clothing, that goes with like whatever I do. It's like she hates it and I like it. But core wise, it's like we couldn't be more similar on our values. And that has been a foundation for, our entire relationship.
Yeah. That's awesome, dude. Yeah. No, I feel like, yeah. I mean, not much more to add. That's great. I mean, I think that's built such a strong foundation. We might have touched on this last time as well, but like the foundation of just feeling that connection I think a lot of people get wrapped up in the superficial stuff and they think that that's the real connection, right? When they meet somebody. Because the core, more deeper stuff can often be maybe more challenging or more, it just takes deeper conversations to actually get to that stuff. But it's usually the thing that can like anchor a relationship really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to go there though, especially with the current way that we have relationships. I feel like the freedom of physical expression is an amazing thing as a youth to find and explore and do stuff, but it can often mask a lot of issues because you're like, hey, I'm getting these floods of dopamine constantly. We're in this lovey-dovey stage. Like, I'm willing to overlook these things. You're willing to overlook these things. And we will, I'm willing to not push on things that make me uncomfortable, and you're willing to do the same. And so all of a sudden people get like a year or two into a relationship, and they're all of a sudden these things that have been there the whole time become these giant problems. And you're like, no, these were there. You just never addressed them initially. And now you're having to backtrack and be like, this has bothered me for a year and a half. And you're like, well, why didn't you say it a year and a half ago when we were first dating and we could have sorted this out during those lovey stages? And I think that the foundation, I think, for Taz and I was like, even in our like honeymoon lovey-dovey stages, we're both the type of people who are very blunt. And we recognize that the other person is not fragile. I mean, and so initially we were like too aggressive. It was just like not constant commentary on like, you look like this or blah, 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 but like, why'd you do that? That seems dumb. Like, and then, oh, why'd you do that? Oh, I did it because of this. And like, there was this bickering back and forth that was, probably uncomfortable for a lot of other people, but became eventually us not needing to bicker because we're like, oh, anytime we have an issue, we can bring it up in a better way because we've matured, but we feel comfortable to do so because we've pushed on each other so hard throughout the years. But yeah, I think that was a good thing initially.
Yeah, no, 100%. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a good thing, but it is definitely a good thing. All right. Where are you originally from? And where do you live now?
Originally from Santa Cruz, California, and I am currently in Santa Cruz, California. I born and raised here. There's this fly buzzing around here that's bugging the hell out of me. One big old fly. You might be able to see it in the screen, but it's killing me.
I've seen a couple of
the friggin' I was born in Santa Cruz, California. I lived in Mountain View, which is just over the hill in San Jose, Silicon Valley area, for a little while, from like the ages of 5 to 8, I want to say. And then from there, I came back to Santa Cruz, spent my whole childhood here. And then when I graduated high school, I went down to LA in the San Fernando Valley for like, I want to say 6 months. It was terrible. I hated it. And then I came back to Santa Cruz. And then when I met my wife in 2009, I moved to New Zealand for off and on for 2 years. And then in 2012, we moved back to Santa Cruz, and we've spent our time living here. Like, we travel a lot, but we live here.
Yeah. And when you moved back, where you didn't get the place that you have now, you were somewhere else?
Yes. So I originally moved back to a little spot on a place called Pleasure Point, which is a funny name, but it is a surf, like very, very wave rich, surf rich area with some iconic breaks, and it's just beautiful. And we lived right on the point in this little community in this giant plot. It was like a double plot, which was weird for the area. Like, you're talking like the plot alone would probably be worth like $2 million. In the location that it is, and we lived in this little shack on it, And we ended up, when we got married, we had our wedding in that backyard, just like right on this little area. So that's where we lived for 2012, 13, 14, I want to say, 12, 13. And then 2014, no, 2013, we bought a house in Midtown and moved to that. And then from there in 2019, we sold that house and bought the property we're in now, which is in the mountains, which is just south of Santa Cruz.
Yeah, we're gonna loop back to that property because we got some fun things going on with that too. We'll finish off our fatherhood credentials. This is a broad question because I know, even in just the short time that we've connected, how many different hats you wear throughout any given day. But what do you do for work?
Yeah, dude. Kind of gnarly, actually. If I had to say the three biggest buckets that I have, one bucket is coaching development. So I basically create CrossFit coaches. So like I help develop CrossFit coaches. I do that through my own personal channel of coachesdevelopment.com or coachesdev.com. And I also do that through CrossFit, the main company, traveling and teaching seminars. And I've done that side of things for years, like 20 years. And then that is one side, is the coaches development side. The other side is we have rentals on our property. So we've got an Airbnb and then two other rentals, a rental above this office here and a tiny home that I rent. So those bring in income for me. And the Airbnb is a thing that is constantly turning over. And then I also, so rentals, coaches development. I also work for a company called Street Parking, and they offer fitness programming for at-home people. And I'm helping them with media as well as coaching content. So I help, instead of coaching coaches, I use my coaching background to help create content that coaches individuals. And then I have the Fathers Guild, which currently isn't a job, but we've made some cool t-shirts and we have some cool stuff coming up. But that would be something that I'm quite passionate about and could see as being a source of both revenue and like profound meaning beyond just the social media posts that I put out. So yeah, all of those.
All of those, lots of things. And then the final one, which is the deepest one of the list, I would say, or the most thought-provoking, is what is the current top of mind struggle or journey that you are working on as a father?
Yeah. It's interesting because this is probably one of the more surface level things that you could focus on. But right now it's the most glaring in my life is, I would say, being the provider in a way that supports my family to the extent that they feel supported. So like my wife really likes to travel, and travel is not cheap with 6 kids. And living in California is not cheap with one person, let alone 6. So there's like, we don't have an immense amount of debt. We've got 2 paid off cars. We've don't have any student loan debt. We have our house, but our house has like nearly $1 million in equity in it, but it's still an expensive house. But it's like, even with all that, like going for me, it's expensive as hell every month to live here. And with my rentals and my multiple jobs, I'm still just like scraping by. And I have many friends and many acquaintances who just don't scrape by. And part of that is I have prioritized many of the other parts of fatherhood for all of my fatherhood life. I prioritize the connection with my kids. I've prioritized creative expression. I've prioritized relationship with my wife and intimacy and communication and all of the things and play, like, before I've prioritized an extreme amount of work. And so I think that there are many men who are on the flip side of this coin, where they've prioritized work and they need to work on the connection with all of those other pieces and feeling better about themselves as a man. I feel great about myself as a man on all of these other places, but my biggest thing is like I'm just realizing the struggle of the lack of consistency I've had with endeavors that would make the kind of money that would allow my wife to live the life she wants to live. And there's not like an extreme pressure and she's like shaming me or anything like that. It's just literally like, it's just so expensive to live here. And the things that we want to do are not super cheap. So I'm shifting my attentions and my focuses to like doing terrible stuff, like sitting behind a computer for 10 hours a day and, like trying to make stuff work. And the thing is, I never want to do anything that would compromise my moral integrities. So that's also been a place that's been hard for me, is like, I want to figure this out, but I'd rather do stuff that pays less and doesn't force me to compromise my morals, rather than what I consider would be sacrificing my soul for something that is inauthentic and compromises my morals. So that's my biggest current fatherhood burden to bear and work to be done, is that I need to make more money. Like it's as simple as that, like big things jump out, like $8,000 electric bills and random tax payments that are $12,000. And you're like, well, didn't save for that one, so yeah.
I feel you on that. I think it's strange how many parallels there are going on in our life at the moment, but that's one of them for us as well, where it's just like there's things that pop up and our financial security is not there. We're the same. Like we're trying to build our business together, and my wife just left her corporate role at the beginning of the summer, and we're kind of going all in on trying to build the life that we want, but by our own means, right? Not having to be at the beck or just be under anybody else's control. And that's scary and fulfilling and stressful. Like it's all the things. One thing, and again, this comes from a place of me being in that shift as well, is that times past, Sue's, having had the corporate role, has been the one sat in front of the screen for 10 hours a day on Zoom calls, and now that's flipped. Like we just had a crazy busy little stint with projects, and I was just in the office hammering it out all day long, day after day. And we finally on Monday we handed off a bunch of projects, and I kind of felt that a little bit of relief, and it was a really gratifying feeling. But at the same time, there's this desire of like, I want to be able to work so hard, and I want us to work hard together to build this life, both financially and flexibility wise, that we love, which we have already, but just enhancing that even more by our own metrics. And then hearing the kids outside jumping in the pool or like running around, or even having them come in when I'm like trying to do stuff, and I want to just be able to just stop and be like, yeah, I'm going to give you 100% of my attention, and we're going to go and do this, and stop work. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's like finding that balance of, I know that every single time I would choose them.
Yeah.
But we also got to eat.
Yeah.
And expensive to live where we live as well. Do you find that you're able to, when you just put in a 10, 12-hour shift in front of a screen and you've got all these things whirring around in your head, do you find it easy or it manageable to then switch gears and leave that room and be 100% present and feel that connection with the kids? Or is that a struggle to kind of shift gears?
I mean, it's absolutely a struggle. I mean, it's one of the things that when you look at your priorities and you look at what is going well, like if you sleep well, if you're healthy, if you eat well, all of those things go to supporting being adaptable and being able to shift and go, okay, well, I didn't get this one thing, but these other things are going great. Whereas like same thing is if you're super stressed about money, like it's very hard to like pull your head out of your butt and just be okay and be present because you're worried about that other stuff. So I think putting really long hours in a day, like a lot of stuff kind of goes to the wayside. Like you lose your playtime, your personal playtime, like going out and doing fitness or maybe you eat a little bit lamer, or maybe you stayed up a little bit later, or whatever it is, like you stayed up the night before because you wanted to actually unwind, or maybe you had a drink, and I've found myself that like that often, where I'm like just trying to unwind, but it's not helping. It's just aiding to the inability to be present. So I do find it really difficult. And I think for me, the more I prioritize making sure I do little things like not drink and communicate well and take times where I like step out during the middle of the day and go help with them for an hour and make sure I still work out. Like I've got a 45-minute window after this podcast before another podcast. That will be the first 45-minute window in the day. And I'm going to try and work out in that little 45-minute window, because that will mean something good for me later after that, once I take my son to soccer practice, Um, so I do find it very difficult, but there are things to help mitigate that. One of the things that I'm personally wrestling with right now, that I've used as a tool recently to alleviate stress, which is not a good tool for alleviating stress, is alcohol. Like, I don't drink a ton, but a drink at night can slow down my prefrontal cortex enough to make it so I'm like pretty present, I'm not thinking about this other stuff. Whereas I don't want to rely on that, because a drink a night is long-term health-wise not appropriate. And it also does something where it does something called raising your hedonic set point. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So yeah. So your hedonic set point is basically your ability to feel pleasure based off of the amount of dopamine that is released. So all human beings have a lower or higher hedonic set point naturally. So some people have a slightly higher one, some people have a slightly lower one. And if you notice people who are happier more often, they likely have a lower hedonic set point, meaning stupid stuff can make them happy. Like they can do a workout, or they can eat one piece of bag of chips, and they're like, yeah, I'm good, or something slightly okay, like, and send an email they felt good about, and they're like, I'm good, because their hedonic set point is low. Hedonic set point stems from the word hedonism, which is pleasure for pleasure's sake. So we're talking about this point where when your body releases dopamine, it goes above this level and you're feeling good. Some people have a naturally higher one. So basically, they need more dopamine release to feel good. Oftentimes, these people will be like thrill seekers, people who go out and do like, jump off cliffs and base jumping and stuff. They have this really extreme hedonic set point because they need this big high in order to get them to feel good. And there's things you can do to mitigate that. But what alcohol does is it's massive dumps of dopamine, and it essentially over time takes your hedonic set point and raises it. So things that previously made you feel good don't make you feel good anymore because the set point's too high. So that workout that previously made you feel good no longer does. Or that kiss that you got from your wife no longer does. Like, these things make it so you're feeling crappier more often. So if you use alcohol as a tool to make you feel good, you're also raising your hedonic set point, which lowers your ability to feel good by normal means. It's a pretty crap cycle.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I have two questions about that. Which I don't know if you'll know, but number one, is that hedonic set point only influenced when you have consumed alcohol, or is it like a gauged meter that the more you consume, the higher it just sits?
yeah, so it's like you're think of it as it's set, it doesn't move, but continued consumption of alcohol over days, months, years will slowly raise it up. So it's basically becoming desensitized to the amount of dopamine that's being released. So it doesn't like you drink one drink and then it goes up. And it's like, as you continue to expose yourself to big dopamine dump things, that set point becomes too high. I mean, this can also happen with addictive things like video games, social media, like all of the, yeah, all of the highly dopaminergic things.
Yeah. And then my other question on that was, is this related to, so say you've got your set point, is this related to the reverse of that, where if you have a low hedonic set point, small things bring you joy, but then small things also bring you sadness. You know, you get one email with some shitty feed, and that like instantly like the day's screwed, or you just are in a bummer of a mood. Or are those two different? Is that a different set point?
I have no idea.
There we go. I was trying to
Yeah,
bait.
I have no idea.
I was trying to bait you into bullshitting me an answer there. See, to what?
Well, I actually think that there's the hard part about talking about anything that is neurological, like when it comes to neuroscience and dopamine and blah blah blah, is nothing is set in stone. And people will talk about it with such certainty, even like I did when I was talking about those set points. The human being is such a complex organism that it's like it's impossible to say this does this does that, but we get these good senses of how things work, and you can watch it play out in your daily life. Like you can watch what happens to happiness levels after heavy nights of drinking, especially over and over again. Like the next day you just feel in a funk, and it's like, no, you literally can't feel happy the same way, you know. But I think when it comes to being saddened by things, that would be a different mechanism as far as I understand it. But I don't really know. I could lie to you, but
I mean, you could if you wanted, but I think that that's the biggest takeaway from that is just like it's different for everybody. Number one, that set point, or even just the way things affect you, right?
mm-hmm.
So I think that the biggest piece is just being able to have the clarity to pick up on the things that affect you and take note of them. It's like,
Yeah.
I didn't really the way that made me feel or act or react, whatever it was. And mine was alcohol as well. I don't drink very much. I'll maybe have 1 or 2 beers a week. But in previous years' lives, that was a lot higher. But it wasn't until I had kids where I noticed that like the day after having even like 3 beers, I always say like 1 or 2 is fine. Like I will not feel that the next day. 3 plus is where I start to feel the impact of it. Especially the next day, not even in a way of feeling hungover or ill. It's just my fuse is just so short. Like something that before would have not bugged me, or I could have tolerated and then had like a well thought out response and learning opportunity or whatever it is, it'll just go straight to yell, and then I'm just like, idiot. I know why that has happened. Why'd you even do that?
Yeah. That's actually an interesting number. The 3 to 4. I had this. I'm gonna say it's a horrible epiphany, but it was horrible because it means I can't drink as much, and I enjoy drinking. But it was good because I finally put some dots together. So like, but it directly relates to those number of drinks sort of deal. So like, this is something I've talked about in a post, but one of the things that happens if I haven't had intimacy or sex with my wife for a long period of time is I start to like just be too antsy. Like I can't control it. I start to get into this place of like just irrational levels of irritation, and I'm like, what the hell? And I can logically be like, I shouldn't feel like this. It's only been 5 days, like I shouldn't feel like this. I can figure this out, like I'll just go, sort myself out. And it's like, that doesn't even work. It's like, no, something's going on. And and so, and then my wife will just be like, dude, you just need to have sex, like you'll be fine. Let's just, and so like, and I'll be like, no, I want to have the conversation now and the blah, blah, and it's about this and da, 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 da. And then afterwards I'm like, oh yeah, no, it was just the sex. My bad.
Sex enlightenment. You're just like, oh,
yeah, you're like, oh my God, I was, free. I was an idiot. And we shouldn't, hold our spouse accountable for that. So much of the front sides of intimacy are our responsibility as men to make our wives feel like that's a thing that they want to do with us. And we can talk about that another time. But the horrible realization that I had is I considered that one phenomena, like, okay, I'm not getting intimacy. I'm going to spiral off into some place, right? I just realized there's a compounding effect for me. And that compounding effect has actually destroyed a few different times. And I look back on all of and this was just, I realized it 2 days ago, but I look back on all of my worst blow-ups where I just threw this fit that I couldn't get out of an emotional funk in. And every single one of them, like every single one, one was over Christmas when I'm spending time in New Zealand with family, Taz's family. One was in Hawaii, or two in Hawaii, 2 separate years in Hawaii when we're vacationing with friends. Another one was at a ski trip where it was like going into this ski trip and friends had been around and all these other things. And then one was this last weekend, and I was in the American River, river rafting. And there's been like one or two others. Every single one of them are the times that I've drinking. I routinely drink 4 or more drinks, like three to 4 drinks, right around there. And I have that pattern, which then puts my hedonistic set point much higher, right? Like after a couple of days of this, and then I'll then associate it with not getting intimacy because my body is being like, hey, you need to do something that does a huge dopamine level, like dump somehow. So then I put pressure on my wife to make something like that happen. And I'm like, oh no, it's just the intimacy thing. And it's like, it's not. You're actually messing with yourself. Like it's this intimacy craving because you're lower than you should be because you've done this alcohol thing. And literally all the biggest pouty blow-ups I've had can be directly linked to consuming too much alcohol and I hadn't realized this. I literally had never put 2 and 2 together that it was the alcohol. And now I look back on it and I'm like, oh my God, it's bang on the alcohol, like for every single one.
And is that like, is it after you've had, is it during like an intoxication? Like if you had drinks and it happened, or is it like the day after, completely sober, you've had, but it's the prolonged, like you've had 3 or 4 drinks, 3 or 4 days in a row.
Yep, it's that one.
Yeah.
So it's 3 or 4 drinks, 3 or 4 days in a row because like it'll be on vacation, right? So where you're just a little bit freer and you're doing your like da-da-da, and like day 1 you're fine, day 2 you're fine, and day 3 you're fine, but like you're just in a little funk and like but you're on vacation. You should be happy. Like why aren't you happy? You're on vacation. What's going on? Oh, and then you like try to find all these things like, oh, because it haven't worked out, or I don't get to do what I want, or someone's trying to control the vacation. It's like, no, you're just being a little turd because your brain is not doing what it should. And like, no joke, I look back at it and I'm like, holy crap, like I've done this to myself. I've done this to my family. So yeah, it was quite a good epiphany that I had, / horrible.
That's a few different dots to line up and have like that aha moment. But it's a good thing when that happens. And I'm going to use it as a segue into what we're gonna talk about, which is the opposite of that, or even just the ability to gain clarity and something that since we kind of started talking about, or since we kind of started joining forces on the Fathers Guild, has been front of mind for you because you've experienced so much, maybe transformation is the right word, or just being able to see the effect that it has on people who have done it through your coach's development, which is retreats on your property. Yeah. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So I have an amazing 5-acre property in the mountains of Santa Cruz, like where we feel like a retreat. It feels like, I mean, you're out here, it feels like there's nothing surrounding you. We've got 75 fruit trees, avocados, peach, pear, plum, apple, feijoa, pineapple, guava, like all kinds of stuff. And I've got a big pool and a sauna and a cold plunge and just like no light pollution. Like at night, it's just stars. And then during the day, it's like quiet other than nature. And then nighttime, you just hear crickets and frogs. And it's like, you feel very out there, but you're not. You're 20 minutes from the beach. It's like a pretty sweet spot. And there's these big redwood groves on my property that if you've never stood next to a redwood, they're obscene in their size. And it's very hard to get perspective. And you're like inside of them and you're looking, you're like, how am I so small? And then you've got these huge mountaintops that like have views out over the ocean. And it's like, it's just it's a really special spot. It's the reason we bought it. It's the reason we live here. But we've always wanted to run retreats and bring people out here. And I just didn't know what I would do for a retreat. I've been a coach my whole life, but it was fitness. But I went out on a limb and started running these personal development retreats for coaches, which were basically, I think that we are all overstimulated. Not all of us, but the vast majority of us are carrying so much responsibility, and we are so overstimulated that we very rarely have an opportunity to have mental space. And so I was like, if I give people mental space and then some guidance and then a place where they can think and write and like find direction, and they will thrive. And so I started doing that. And part of the impetus of this was I went on a men's retreat, and that men's retreat was a 3 day. It was called a soul searching adventure with my buddy Mike Kaz, and it like opened my eyes to a whole side of me that I had never experienced. It gave me so much direction and grounded me in a way that I'd never felt before. And a lot of it was due to the austerity of the experience, like sleeping out under the stars and writing in a journal and having no stimulation and being around men and having these guided prompts and having conversation and making it really open. And I was like, I need to replicate this somehow because I took so much from this. And so I started that with coaches, and I've had 3, and they've all gone way better than I would have ever expected. Like it went really, really well. And I had the vision of doing these for fathers, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to get people out here to the property, and we're going to take like 8 dudes at a time and take their phones away. We'll have an emergency contact. Don't worry. We're going to cook amazing food for you. My wife cooks amazing stuff, so that is off your plate. You're not thinking about it. You're eating amazing food. You can just sit there and focus and enjoy it. We're going to take all your responsibility away. I'm going to give you time. I'm going to give you space. We're going to do some intentionally physiologically difficult things. But this is not like a go ruck or a Kokoro camp or a military style spray you in the face with water, like harden up, don't be a pussy. Like that's not the direction we're going. There's a time and place for those, and I've done those, and I think they're wonderful for the right type of mentality. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go deep, but we're also gonna go deep in space. We're gonna relax. We're going to like take off and unshoulder all this responsibility and really spend time just like working together with dudes, doing some dude stuff. I'm not going to tell you all of what it is, but maybe some forging of some metal, maybe some cooking of some fire, like cutting of some wood, some swimming in uncomfortable ways. Like we're going to intentionally face some things. We're going to learn how to feel a bit more. So understand that just being angry and sad are not like angry and happy are not the only 2 emotions that exist. Yeah. And we're going to create space and an environment that you can be and thrive and get new perspective on yourself and really rest and walk away from the weekend just like, dude, I want to tackle life. I want to love my wife. I want to love my kids. I'm going to work in this way. I'm going to put my focus here. And that reset has been profound for the people who've come as coaches. And I want to do the same for fathers. So that's it. Just that.
Awesome. No, I'm super excited. And yeah, I mean, so we're putting more information out on this in a standalone place that it can be kind of, you can go through and see what's entailed. We're still solidifying some dates. So I think we'll release those soon as well, so we can actually start getting people signed up. But yeah, man, I think having never done anything like that myself, I will be coming along just to experience it. Because yeah, it sounds like from the way that you've talked about the ones you've done, and then also the ones that you've done personally and the ones that you've hosted, sounds like an incredible experience. And yeah, I'm just excited about the whole thing as I can see that you are. And I think that there's probably a bunch of other dads out there that will hear that soundbite of what you've just explained it as and just instantly feel, yes, I need that. Like that's something that I need in order to just reset, recharge, refocus, and come back to my family in the way that I want to show up, right? Because I think there's a lot of that. I think wanting to show up in a certain way, maybe feeling, just like you said, the burden of everything is kind of dampening their ability to do that. And I think this will be a really good tool to help them get through that.
Yeah. And I think there's a quote that I heard recently that I think applies really well, is like, you don't need life to be easier. You need to have less distractions, essentially. It's like you need to have less complexity. And I think one of the things we can do when we create space is realize that, like, hey, I am enough and I can handle this shit. But at the same time, like, I need to reduce complexity here, here, and here. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on this, this, and this, and remove this bullshit. And that time away allows you that space and time to remove some bullshit.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap.
I think so too. Let's get an awesome guest next time, and we will talk to another father.
Yeah, let's do that. We're gonna get that lined up, and we will hear everybody next time.
Hell yeah! High five.
Oh yeah.